The young boy stole all of his father's savings and immediately went to the stock market hall to buy the worst gold stock. However, the female CEO saw him and kindly advised him, saying that the international situation was great and gold prices were stable, so this stock couldn't possibly rise. She told him to return the money and focus on his studies, but the boy replied that war was about to break out overseas and that international gold prices would skyrocket, so his stock would surely hit the limit. The CEO dismissed it, thinking it was just nonsense from the boy, since international wars didn't just start easily. But the boy, seeing how beautiful and kind-hearted the CEO was, immediately came up with an idea. He made a bet with her, saying that if this stock went up, she would have to marry his father and become his stepmother. The assistant was furious when he heard this, and was about to teach the boy a lesson, but noticed that the CEO had already agreed to the bet, confidently saying that it was a deal. If the boy lost, he would never be allowed to trade stocks again. Just then, the boy's father finally arrived, and immediately told him to take the money and pay his tuition. But the boy, holding his securities trading card, showed it off to his father, saying that they would soon be rich, and just had to wait 10 more minutes. Unbeknownst to the father, the boy had been reborn. In his past life, when his parents divorced, the naive boy chose to stay with his wealthy mother. Under his mother's influence, he severed ties with his father, but when he became seriously ill in his old age, he desperately tried to win back his mother's favor, but she didn't even help him with his medical bills. She even colluded with a rich second-generation heir, forcing him to sign a property transfer agreement, and then disconnected his oxygen supply, leaving him to die. Only before his death did he learn that his living expenses had actually come from his father, and he regretted it deeply, dying with endless remorse. Perhaps the heavens pitied his tragic fate, and allowed him to be reborn back to the day his parents divorced when he was 8. To avoid repeating the tragedy of his past life, the boy immediately took his father's hand, and pressed his thumbprint on the divorce agreement. Then, he kicked his mother out of the house, choosing to stay with his father. His father was deeply moved by this, and immediately took out all his savings to ensure the boy could study. But the boy turned around and went to the stock market hall, buying a stock that was continually falling. At this time, the boy's greedy mother walked over holding the hand of a rich second-generation heir. The second-generation heir mocked them both, saying they were delusional. The boy's mother was relieved that she had divorced his father long ago, otherwise, she would have to suffer the embarrassment too. She then mocked the boy, saying although he was her son, she found him disgusting now. Hearing this, the second-generation heir arrogantly explained that it was likely because their entire family was destined to be poor, and boldly slapped the boy's father in the face, telling him to take the boy and leave, or else he would make them pay. Unexpectedly, the boy's father suddenly stopped being cowardly, and grabbed the second-generation heir's hand, challenging him to a bet. The second-generation heir quickly agreed, saying that if the stock didn't go up within 3 minutes, the father and son would have to become his servants. At this point, the atmosphere in the room became tense. Soon the time was up, but the stock was still falling. The boy's mother immediately told them to admit defeat, but the boy remained calm. Then, in the final 10 seconds, the stock suddenly began to rise,